Have we started?
Here we go. Welcome.
Welcome back to episode 3.
Is it?
Yes, it is episode 3.
Or is it episode 2 and last week
Oh.
when we said it was episode 2, it was episode 1 because before that was the pilot.
Or like the intro.
So welcome
no,
to learning who we are.
It's everything, really. I don't know, we could call it the pilot. This could be like episode 2 of like the actual story. What? Why do I need to be moved over? He's pushing.
I told you. Like it's all about the aesthetics of where the
It's
video
not.
fits. It is.
You're pushing me. It's actually to do with our microphones, guys.
It's a little bit to do with all of it.
I'm apologising in advance. If my hair is out, it's maning. I have my lion mane out right now. I tend to play with it a lot. I'm trying my hardest not to. But I'm also trying to have it out more often and not have it up all the time.
Because it looks real pretty when it's out.
Because he does really like it, my hair when it's out. So, you know, we're all about making them happy.
Ooh, yeah.
Even though it's happy wife, happy life. But my hair is caught around my ear. Ring. My earring.
Oh, do you need me to fix it?
Maybe.
What's wrong?
It feels like there's something pulling on my ear. Is there any wrapped around?
No.
No? We're okay?
I think you're fine.
Okay. I think slightly I have tendencies towards, I'm not labeling anything, but my body and my brain have difficulties sitting still. So I move a lot. And when my hair is out, it moves just as much, if not more.
Doesn't need to like hold you still.
That would torment me. I need to be constantly moving.
Well, maybe we need to figure out how we could do one of these like while we're walking. You know what we could do?
We could get walking pads.
What's a walking pad?
Literally, it's like a treadmill, but it doesn't have any of the extra treadmill things. It's just literally a pad about that yay that has still the treadmill thing, and you just walk on it. But you don't have the full tread. So it literally could just tuck into the corner.
How does it know how fast to go?
Oh, it's like the proper thing. Like you tell it how fast to go.
Oh, like just on the side or something
Yeah,
like that.
like there's a pad at the front that tells you all those kind of things. But have you seen that other...
So the walking pad has a pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's a pad. It's tiny. But have you seen where...
Do they have them in Thailand? Because then it'd be a pad Thai.
A Thai pad. Have you seen the ones, the treadmills and the machines that are based... Instead of you telling it what to do, it's based off what you do. So it's like if you're walking, it does it so it walks at your pace. If it's running, like it's self-led. It's actually not a machine. Like it's not an electrical thing that...
No, but I don't see anywhere near as many things as you do on Instagram. So that would be true.
Am I still too close to you, by the way?
It's fine. I'll just
sit over here. It's fine.
It might be the wrong top. It might not have the strength to hold.
That's all right. I just got to be sitting in the right spot. It's not going to... I'm not going to flash people. It's not going to come down that far.
You can flash me later. That'd be fine. So.
Okay. If I didn't have makeup on...
Blushing real
have
hard.
some rosy red cheeks right now. Anyway. Oops. Sorry. Didn't mean to clap.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Does that confuse it?
No, but it just gives me a massive spike I've got to try and figure out what to do with.
I'm so sorry. You
Give
might
me
have to
more
cut
work.
that bit out. Welcome back. I'm hoping that you guys have stuck around and not disappeared after our last 2 videos. We went all out and we're putting all of our vulnerability out into the interwebs.
The ether.
We did leave it on a bit of a bombshell.
We did, but we probably need to figure out where we're going to pick up from rather than having to recap, more just,
Yeah.
this is where we left off.
We did leave off on us finding out we were pregnant with Drake.
And
5 months into our relationship.
yes,
And
which
that
already was hectic.
So I was probably about five or 6 weeks along. when we found out. And we had...
Is that considered early? Is 5 or 6 weeks? Is that kind of like...
That's early. Oh, well, no, early would be how soon we found out we were pregnant with Isaiah, which was like 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. But and we talked about how we had that moment of thinking, can we actually do this? Is this what we can do? Which obviously leads into conversations. We kind of dropped a bombshell of the conversation started, our first controversial topic. I don't know if it's controversial, but
I think one of the things that like...
Okay, what is the word controversial? What does it mean to be controversial?
Wrong podcast, don't care. But...
Oh, I need a definition so I understand.
We're using our phones. I can't Google it right now.
Oh, so you don't know?
Well, I think there'd be a good definition. I wonder. Hey Siri, what does the word controversial mean?
Does she want to talk to you?
Giving rise or likely to give rise to controversy or public disagreement.
It's a controversial topic.
It is a controversial
topic.
topic.
I did say that I personally feel like I have I don't want to say a right, but I have a space where I can speak into this, an allowance or a whatever, due to the fact that not because we had considered it. Now, we are people of faith, as we spoke about.
Mind you, at that point,
we were both not in church at that time, but it was already instilled in us and the foundation had already been laid. It was just lying dormant.
So I should probably state in my memory, and you'll find out why this is always funny, right?
Memory.
Can't always trust my memory, but how I remember it is that it was a super short conversation.
Oh, it lasted less than 10 minutes.
Yeah. It was like, I think we both had this idea of we at least need to raise it as a conversation between the two of us, and then we both went...
To know we're on the same page.
Yeah, to know that you and I aligned to go, this is not something we're going to be talking about because we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Essentially, it's like, the conversation was, can we actually do this? Is this something that we can actually feel that we can do? But obviously, because of that foundation that had already been laid, we already knew in our hearts that was not even going to be an option. Now, my story and why I feel I can speak into this space, and obviously I said like I can't share a lot of it because it's not my story to tell, but abortion is very real in my life. And I know there's a big debate on it, and I can, as much as my faith is there, I can see why some people may choose this option or feel like they only have this option.
Yeah, right.
I will say I do not agree with the current situation of allowing it to be something that can be done almost to full term. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I believe that there is other options, but I believe there's also, though, not a lot of support around for those other options that people feel like they have abilities to use. I don't think it's a space that is well supported yet.
Well, we already know that, like, in friends of ours that are very close to us and have been, we already know there's other government-based systems that are in place that have the right intentions when you think about what they're there to do, but we know that they're not carried out very well, and there's not like...
There's always seems to be a flaw in any system.
Of course, because we're made up of humans which are all flawed. But I think one of the things that, like, coming back to you and going, I think even though this isn't your story to tell, you're at the center of this story. So I think you could do one of two things. You could share the outline of it, if that makes sense, and then we could go into depth with, like, essentially it's your mum, but like we could essentially go into depth with your mum around that if you wanted to. But this is your story to tell because it's a very much part of something that you've had to work through as well.
I did my makeup today too, babe.
It's okay that you did your makeup. But we can skip over it if you want because this was such a...
Yeah, but it is part of, like we said, we would be open and very honest and it would be raw and we would talk on the topics that should be talked on. It's so fine. I
was looking for the tissues.
They're outside. But I have, thanked the Lord, had a lot of inner work.
Yeah.
And a lot of prayer, facing these demons per se. But what I can say is that I am so truly grateful that even though it could have gone one way, God intervened and my beautiful mum chose differently, even up until the very last minute when it could have gone a whole different way. And so...
I'm very glad it went the other way, so just saying. So thank you, Heather.
But you know what? It just... We never know. We never, ever, ever know the walk or the journey or the season or the storm, whatever it is. We never know what people are going through, right? So I think to lay judgment on that is wrong. Only God can judge. And I know that sounds cliche, but we don't have any position. There's a story in the Bible that is spoken about with Jesus. And there is a woman, I believe it's the woman that got caught in adultery. And she gets dragged in front of Jesus. And they're basically saying, this woman did this. What are you going to do about it? And the custom was back then that when you are accused of something and found guilty, you are stoned. And he does this beautiful thing where he doesn't react and he doesn't like get all like rah, because it
was gentle parenting 101, right? This is what happens.
But he essentially gets down on the ground, starts drawing in the sand. I'd really love to know what he was drawing in the sand.
I heard something the other day. Sorry, you keep going and then I'll tell you what they think he was writing or what he could have been writing. No one knows, obviously,
no one knows.
Speculating. So
we'll ask when we get to heaven.
So he was writing something in the sand and he
writing something in the sand, and then he basically says, those that are without sin cast the first stone. And slowly but surely, because she's got her head down, watching what he's doing, but completely like covered in shame. And one by one, they put their stones down and they walk away. And
I think it says there the oldest leave first.
Leave first.
Yeah.
And then the only person left then is him.
And probably some spectators.
And like just that beautiful moment where the one person that can judge her doesn't.
So,
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So none of us have the grounds, right? And people may come and say, well, you know what? That would be the same then, that no one has grounds to tell someone whether they can or cannot. And that's really true. That might cause some feathers. But it's true. We can't make someone do something, or we can't make someone not do something. But it's not as blanketed as let's just put in this law, let's put in this rule and have this happen. I think there's so much more to it. I think we need to look at all the different avenues. We need to look at all the different scenarios, the options. I think there needs to be more places that are not regulated by the government, for one, that can be a support system. I know some incredible organizations that actually support girls, especially young girls, in this position, because you know what? Sometimes there is situations that girls get into that it was by no means their fault.
Of course.
That is another part of my story that at one point I will share, obviously. But
it's the Kristie podcast. That's essentially what we're doing.
No, it's not. But guys, when I tell you, we've got a lot that we can share on. There is a lot. So that's where we left you off last time. And
I was going to tell you.
Yes.
I heard this thing the other day, and it was a bunch of pastors or ministers, and they were talking on this topic. And the first thing that was brought up, which is obviously painfully obvious, is like the woman was brought out. Where's the dude?
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Right? Yeah. Now, I know that back in those days, like, even
Yeah.
like women weren't even counted as good witnesses and all sorts of stuff. And we're not trying to go down a whole Bible theological conversation, right? We'll bring in a friend who is a theologian and he can do that. But the funny thing that I heard was, it was just like, I would have loved to have known that Jesus was down there writing all the women that the guys had been with in the thing.
Do you want me to go and call all these ones?
Here you go. We'll bring these people out that and then like all the guys are like, I think I might leave now.
I think I'm done.
Yeah.
But yeah, like.
Anyway, so that's where we left.
So we did leave off, and so you know, I don't want anyone to feel like we're just brushing over that kind of conversation, because we're not. We're not, obviously, again, we're not experts on this. Like, we're never going to sit here and say, you should do this or you should do that. But an understanding of where someone might be at. I think that, I think that as Christians, we just need to sit with people and where they're at.
Just as people, we need to sit with people.
With people. As people, we need to sit with people just where they're at and making no judgment. And, you know, yes, we can provide counsel and guidance and all those kind of things and other options, but ultimately it comes down to that person. But I am so incredibly grateful that my mum saw a different option, because we wouldn't be here.
That's true.
We wouldn't be here.
I could be sitting here with someone else. That'd be a bit weird, eh?
I'd be haunting you. I'd be like, hey.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, because we've gone on a little sidetrack, which is cool.
So we found out we were pregnant.
So we found out we were pregnant.
We had thought of options.
We did.
Chose to continue on with the pregnancy.
We did.
I gave you an ultimatum. Not really an ultimatum.
No.
I gave you an out. I said, like, if this is not what you're ready for,
bail.
You're totally okay.
Shoot through.
There will be no hard feelings or anything or malice if you choose to walk away.
But that wasn't going to happen because...
You knew. Apparently you were already going to marry me.
I knew I was going to marry you.
So it came to the point...
Well, let's say, did we talk about this last week? You found out you're pregnant.
I started
sisters?
Yes, with my sister.
Yeah.
Which was the best thing for me, because she was amazing and I love her to pieces. I adore my sister, and she was an absolute rock for us.
In those early days?
And so...
Maybe for you. I don't know if she liked me. She got me drunk and made me throw up everywhere, so that wasn't good. So different story.
Pepper Walls. I just remember Pepper Walls. But we did, found out. Sidetracked. Visual. I'm so visual.
Rabbit trails.
I'm so visual. And now all I can see is that bathroom.
I don't remember, so that was really
But
good.
we found out, chose to keep it, and then I just felt a call to go back to church. I just went, I want to raise my kid in the church, so I want to go back to church. And so from there, we started telling a couple of people. Obviously,
how soon did we tell your parents?
I told Mum a couple of weeks. I was about 8 weeks.
So a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, and then we waited until 12 weeks to tell Dad.
Yeah, okay.
And in this whole time, we're like, what the heck are we going to do? I felt like, oh my gosh, like this whole conversation that had been had most of my life around not to do certain things, and then finding out I do that thing and then I fall pregnant. So I was like, oh crap,
like,
I can't, shivers, I can't do this. Like,
this is the consequences of my own actions.
this is the consequence of my own actions. And so I turned around to Beren and was like, we have to get married. We have to get married. It was hilarious. I remember the night.
You remember us saying that we're
'Cause you were like,
babies having babies, right? Like,
even though he knew he wanted to marry me, he was like, And then I remember the night and you rolled over and you said to me, all right, let's get married. And I bawled and bawled and bawled my eyes out. And then we were at church and I remember my dad pulled me aside and he said, what's going on? And I said, I would like to have this conversation at home. And he said, no, we're having this conversation now. And we're standing in the middle of church. Church had just finished. And I was like, so I am 12 weeks pregnant with Beren's baby. And he was like, right, let's go home. I was like,
yes, that's what we said. Have the conversation at home.
Why couldn't we go home? Anyway, so Dad organised for my sister and my brother-in-law to be there. He was like, everyone needs to come back. I felt like that was good. I was like, he's a buffer. He's not going to yell at me. Given you, I'm like 20 at this stage, but I was daddy's girl. It's always been that way. And then you came back as well, and we were all sitting around the table. And do you want to share this bit?
Not really, because
You don't remember a lot of it.
No.
But basically, we talked with our whole family and was telling them what was going on. And then Beren, being the absolute sweetest soul, turned around to my dad and said, I don't even remember what you may have said before. I don't even remember most of the conversation. All I remember is you turning around saying, I would really love to marry your daughter. And Dad went,
no.
Not even joking. He's like, nope, that's not going to happen. This is how we're going to handle this situation. He said,
pretty sure he said, you're going to go home.
You're going to go home right now and we're going to just discuss this as a family because she is our daughter who happens to be pregnant with your child. And I was like, crap. Oh my gosh. And he's like, we would treat this as she's a single mum and that's how it's going. And I was like, oh man, if he comes back after this, he needs a medal because any other man, boy, let's be honest, boy, would have run in the opposite direction.
Still a teenager at this stage, I am.
Still, he's only 19.
Not
only
even
19,
20.
an absolute baby. And so Beren was like, okay. And then he left. I, again, don't even remember the conversation. But obviously, as my dad is, he's not cruel. He wasn't being mean. He had an ulterior motive. Because if we reverse back, did we say what happened 2 weeks into us dating? I can't remember if we said it. If we did, sorry. Here's a quick recap. I'm like, do I say what was happening prior to this happening?
Well, I don't know.
Because they get to like hear like the proper story of that we were in the party scene.
Oh, well, that'll be probably a whole other thing, but like we can do
Let's
that later,
just say that we were about 2 weeks into dating. The first time Beren meets my parents, or my mum,
Yeah, I met your mum.
is coming in on a Monday morning.
Was it a Monday?
Possibly. Was it minute? Whenever it was.
She was in bed.
After a full weekend of being out partying pretty much all weekend, Beren was at that stage still very under the influence of drugs.
I was very high.
He was very high. And walks into my parents' bedroom because they have their routine is that in the morning my dad goes and makes my mum a cup of tea and then takes it up to her and they sit back in bed and have a cup of tea, or dad goes off to work and mum sits with a cup of tea. And so Beren...
I remember your dad being there,
so
he must have gone.
And so Beren comes in, sits at the end of my mum's bed and just starts chatting away to my mum. Now, if you know my mum, for those that do know my mum, she is like...
a chatter.
She loves a good chat. And she's the most incredibly, beautifully welcoming, kind... Just, we nickname her God's little love machine. She has come through so much adversary. Is that the right word? Adversary? Yeah. Like, so much trauma. And yet she's just so incredibly... God has done a seriously full 180 on her. She's just this incredible woman. Anyway, so she was so, like, she was fine. She knew straight away that Beren was high because she knows that scene. And
she just entertained it.
She was like, okay. They sat and chatted for
Where were you?
ages. I was having a shower.
Oh, right. I
come back out from the shower. I'm like, where's Beren? Sure enough, on my mum's bed, I'm like, babe, come on. And so this is how my mum remembers it. We got up and we walked down the hallway and you put your hand on the small of my back as we were going down the hallway. And in that moment, God said, she's going to marry that man. And
so everyone knew except you.
Everyone knew except for me.
You're the last to find out.
So ulterior motive from my dad, obviously mum had already said to him, this is the man God's chosen for her. He said the same thing about my brother-in-law and my sister. So mum knows the things. So they turned around and actually my sister, she knows the things. She said to my mum just before I think we found out I was pregnant, or just before I started dating you. And because I was completely wild and all the things.
Just lost.
Very lost in the world. My sister did say to my mum, the only thing that will stop her is she'll die or she'll get pregnant. And sure enough.
Words are powerful.
Words are powerful. Oh my gosh, words are powerful. That's going to be a fun story when it's time. But, yeah. So anyway, ulterior motive.
Let's skip forward. I got kicked out.
So my dad's not a bad man.
No, but I got kicked out.
He's a very smart man.
It wasn't that I wasn't allowed to come back or anything like that. It was just that they had to have a family thing and they left. Oh, they kicked me out and I left. And then the process was that we just continued to walk this out, but we walked this out as separates that were together as often as we could. We probably I think we still probably saw each other
together
every day.
Every single day. So you would be around, like we would either go out or you'd be around. I still came and stayed at your house, much to the disapproval. Well, not the disapproval, but I'm sure my parents were not
entirely happy, but that's fine.
But there was rules in my house and I broke some of them.
Consistently.
But not, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Dad. Sorry.
Babies having babies.
But people thought we were crazy.
Yeah.
Because they were like...
Well, we didn't follow the world.
We didn't follow the world scene. I didn't. Commendable to you, though, because you were so far from God and so far from practicing any Christian whatevers, yet you didn't fight it, ever. Maybe because you're allowed to, we were still allowed to see each other and all that kind of stuff, and I was coming to you, but basically, we didn't actually live together until we got married And we eventually got married, obviously. But we didn't get married until Drake was 14 months old.
Yeah.
So almost 2 years later.
Yeah. It's a long time.
So we didn't live together. Beren lived with his parents. I lived with my parents.
I guess it's, yeah.
Even for the first year of Drake's life. Now, Beren still came and stayed, was allowed. No, it's allowed. You were allowed.
Well,
to come and stay.
Chris ended up taking me on a journey of just like,
yeah, so
okay,
this is where you get to. This is the ultimatum. This was the ulterior motive that my dad had.
Yeah. So he
knew we weren't ready.
Yeah, and basically like just came alongside and just walked.
Because this is what my dad does. This is what he has created a whole business around, is that he comes alongside and walks alongside, and obviously Beren came on and does it as part of the business as well. But they essentially come alongside people, singles, couples, whichever, helping them navigate life and make wise choices and be a sounding board for different life decisions and all those kind of things. So because he was already doing that, that's what he essentially did for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could see the gold in you. He could see what God wanted, and he was to be a part of that.
Yeah, so we had plenty of like catch-ups and go for walks, and just like you lived on this like river canal type thing at that time, and so there was a bit of a loop down over a bridge up the other side, over another bridge in the back around, and stuff like that, and
ended up being the place we got married.
Yep. But it just ended up being like a journey that we had to walk through of going, okay, well, if this is what we're going to do and you're going to be around, then we need to just start figuring out what life looks like. And like a whole bunch of stuff happened in that time. But fast forward, if we got 14 months, then like fast forward basically a year after Drake's birth. We haven't even got to that story yet, and we'll wrap up in just a second because of timing. But if we fast forward, this one sort of stands out to me, and I remember one of the last conversations getting to the point where I'll skip over the fact that you'd already asked a couple of times, but
guys, I asked him to marry me several times. I'm like, come on, why are you not asking me?
But I remember being on one of these walks and finally asking Chris, I'm like, is it time? Like, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready, or something along those lines. And I remember him sort of like just going through a couple of things. Like he'd obviously got a whole bunch of answers to questions that he kind of wanted to ask, but there were some clear ones. It was just like, are you clean?
Yeah.
Which I had been. Like, have you stopped selling? Yes. Have you there was just, well, they were big ones from that time. And so all of that had to get sorted. And then it was like, how's work? And I can't even remember all the questions, but it was just like, just
I'm
getting
the baby of the family, guys.
The fundamentals of like, okay, if we can rule out all of these things that could be issues, and it's obviously been 2 years since that crazy night back when we did it. Drake's been there. I've been staying over. We've been doing stuff.
He's witnessed you as a dad.
It's like, okay, I think that's okay now.
I think I can give you my blessing.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
All right.
And I'm grateful.
Yeah. Maybe this is good.
If we had gone and eloped, it probably might, and started earlier, but I don't know how
that could have been bad. But so last time we left you on a bombshell. This time we leave you on gratitude. We leave you on
how important it is to have people in your world who you trust to walk alongside you, that you can share your heart with, who will pull you up, who will be honest, even if it's not the answer that you want.
Yeah.
And to basically safeguard you. We're still humans and we're still going to make our own decisions ultimately, but it is so good to have somebody there, trusted, that has wisdom, lived a lot of life. I think that's important. We talked about before, And
maybe you can talk about that next time because you're going to keep talking if I don't cut you off pretty soon. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just hold on to that thought till next week. Okay. You just got to hold it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good?
I'll hold it.
Guys, we will see you next week.
We did not say welcome back to our wild, beautiful life.
I can insert this at the end. So say it now and I'll insert
Guys,
it.
we should have inserted this at the start. Hi. Thank you for being on our wild, beautiful life. This.
No, it's our.
Our wild, beautiful. I'm going to get it right at one point.
At some point you'll get it.
At some
It'll
point,
be good.
guys, I'm going to get it right.
Until then, make
See
sure you
next
leave
week.
us a comment, something.
Yeah.
What are you enjoying? What aren't you enjoying? What would you have us talk about in future? And we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, because we're going to share our story.
Yeah,
but
we're going to get
we're
through
going to
that.
get like a them that's like, okay, let's start talking about some things.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
All right, till then.
Bye, guys.
See ya.